Thank you all, and congratulations on your great talks. Really interesting array of projects in that group. My first question is how each of you either found your specific audience, in some cases quite specific, and once you found them, how you connected with them. Was that a difficult process for any of you, or did it come naturally?
It was a bit difficult for me because I started out in India with Indian designers and realizing that it's not just for them, but someone else, as well as wanting to touch upon like student. It kind of came very organically, and I had to switch that user very late in the process.
I think for me, I went into this knowing nothing about the parole experience or my audience. I really just wanted to help the low-income community in some way, and I was able to find an organization that was supportive of my efforts. So it was a process of mutual discovery between me and my audience, and it was really great to get to know them and really work with them on a solution.
Did you find that they trusted you at first? Did you have to work towards that?
I had to work towards that for sure. But you know, we did a bunch of various different exercises to build that trust, and it was all sort of based on conversations and getting to know each other.
I had a similar experience. I'm no firefighter. But I had incredible support from them. I spoke to a lot of them, and they always, I did some initial research myself because I didn't want to have to spend my time with them, having them explain everything to me. So I did a bit of desk research, but they were very supportive, always answering questions. And it was hard to not connect with them, but understand what they would be thinking during a fire, because this wasn't tested in an actual incident. So that was the challenging part for me, making them walk through the whole thing.
For Evoke, it was, it started really with me. I felt I needed more awareness within myself, and I needed help. And I worked it from a very singular viewpoint, and maybe I had a very specific assumption. But as I did my first prototype, and I took it out onto the street, literally talking to people in the subway, as I'm waiting on the platform, at the tea shops. And I really wanted to talk to people outside and really get to know if my product was even relevant. Was it too silly? And surprisingly, there was a lot of positive feedback from different age group, different people from different backgrounds and industry. And it felt really good that it wasn't just a singular audience of one in my head, that this is something that I need. But as I spoke to people, a lot of people appreciated the approach, and that there was an interest in Evoke.
And in your case, you took your prototype object, just walked up to people, right, on the subway and just handed it to them to see what would happen?
Yes, this was, I have to say that this was credit to entrepreneurial design with Gary, who gave me advice this summer, get out there. And so I got out there, and I prototyped, and I took it to the street, and I asked random people about my device, whether, you know, what did they think of it? They even actually played around with it. We had a functional prototype, and my first assumption that it was too complicated with the 3 different modes in the setting, and I automatically wanted to cut to 2, but after I showed it, it was a critical point in the next design iteration.
And did the other 3 of you have a very different version or approach that you started with that then turned into something else?
My first prototype was actually a website that tries to find out how much designers are getting paid in India. So you could like input information about your salary, hoping that this will kind of get the design community together and strengthen each other, which actually later decided that it is useful, but not something that I'm interested in doing. I realized that I'm more interested in helping people do the social good work instead of helping them figure out the money, even though it's very interesting, but it was not, like the finding what I want was a journey on itself, I think.
I had an earlier version of my app that I wanted to test that incorporated cash incentives because I was really curious about what types of things motivated people along their track of making goals. And I somewhat tested it, but it was interesting just to hear reactions when I interviewed people about the idea. It seemed like a lot of people were very, very interested in it, but that it would yield somewhat sort of inauthentic reactions because it would distract them from the genuine sort of effort of following their goals and the internal motivation that comes with that. So it was more of a distraction than anything else, and there were people who were genuinely interested in just the process of like seeing themselves reach certain little milestones. So I ended up removing that in the end.
And Aastha, for you, you started out in airplane cockpits, is that right?
Airplane cockpits, checklists for doctors, and then firefighting, which this concept itself went through 15 iterations. But I had to kill my darlings, as Stephen Nixon says. Also, the concept stayed the same. It was the content that was constantly changing based on what the firefighters or the commanders were thinking as we walked through situations. I realized earlier I was hell-bent on having weather, always on the screen and just taking out all the content they didn't need. That was the main thing for me.
Right. Well, it was great. I got to see all of your projects evolve over the semester. And if the rest of you come after our last group to the reception, you can see everyone's process from all the projects you've seen today. So thank you again, and congratulations.